Good morning, wherever you are. It's time for the Mundane Minute with the Poppy of the Paranormal. I'm Christian Paul. We have a cold, damp, and rainy day here today. Supposed to be springtime. Thought it'd be warming up a little bit, but it is 40s again. Making that grass grow, though. Anyway, what are we going to talk about today? We got a couple things today, and I'm kind of do things in reverse order because we know how I get on tangents. You know, sometimes we get inspired by crazy things. Over the weekend, Travel Channel was on at my house a lot. It's not hard to figure out why. They've got all the paranormal shows on all the time to some degree or another. GAC was on. Not that GAC has ever inspired me to do anything, but the locations sometimes that they show I find very interesting, and it gives us ideas for places to go to. But this was an old episode out of 2015, and they were at Edinburgh Manor, Scotch Grove, Iowa. Now, Dennis and I have been to Edinburgh, and if you follow us, if you've watched the show before, you know we run multiple cameras, and because it's not a case where somebody needs immediate help, I review it when I get to it. Seeing that episode for some reason gave me the motivation to play a little more Edinburgh or Edinburgh Manor. Am I saying it right? Feel free to correct me. Okay. I go through a couple of clips, nothing. And then I had this one short GoPro clip. And it's very, very rarely that I get an EVP that creeps me out. Heard too many different things, too many different voices. Generally speaking, we just don't get creeped out on things. And if you want to know about this video, it is up on the page. You definitely can check it out. But as I'm going down a flight of stairs to go outside, there is a male whispery voice, and just the way it was said, the way it was recorded is what creeped me out. Not so much of what it said, but the way it was said. Now, it is rumored that there is an entity that's been called the Joker, who resides down in the bottom of Edinburgh Manor somewhere. And was this the Joker? I wasn't downstairs, but if you know where the back door is, you've got half a flight of stairs going to the back door from the first floor, and you've got half a flight coming up from the basement to the back door. And the EVP was hurt him, meaning me. Now, was I hurt at Edinburgh Manor? No. But I can honestly say, out of all the EVPs I have reviewed to date, I have never had an EVP that said, hurt him. And once again, like I said, that was directed directly toward me. I was the only one there. Dennis was up on the first floor somewhere. I don't know. I guess time will tell. Hey. All right. Let's move on. Let's talk about investigative styles and reviews. I've over the years I've noticed two basic investigative styles, and then there's a million variants in either direction that can connect somewhere in the middle. Okay. One style is to sit in the dark and wait for something to happen style. I know teams that do this to this day. I was on a team that did this. I will say the team that I was on that did that really never got much of anything. If your team does that style of investigating, hopefully you've had better luck. But there are other teams, such as Crossingaurd Paranormal, as Dennis will say on most investigations, let's make things happen. And off we go. We have found it to be, we've had many captures a lot of times, not even asking questions, but just entities joining the conversation. This has worked for us very well over the years. Um, if you've watched anything on our Tube to the U channel, you know that just in short little clips, I mean, we get comments on things all the time. I recently put up a clip from Mount Hope Cemetery out of Rochester, New York. Again, what inspired me to look, I don't know, but something told me to watch this clip, and yeah, we definitely got a capture. Does not have to be night. Places are just as haunted in the daytime. Okay. We have so many pieces of equipment at our disposal these days. When I first got involved in this many, many years ago, you had some very basic things. You had a mini cassette recorder, and you had a dowsing rods and a flashlight. That was pretty much it. My, have things changed. But from our own personal experience, even though both Dennis and I have got, cases just full of this, that, and the other, we go with what works for us. And hopefully, if you're involved in that, you go with what works for you. Just because Team A uses, let's say, a Zoom H1 recorder, yes, which what we both own, that doesn't mean that that's your only or best viable option. I'll have to say, I haven't used my Zoom H1 in really a couple of years already. Why? It doesn't produce enough. And to be quite honest, review is kind of a pita. Hopefully, you know what pita is. I'm not talking about the bread here. Oh, yes. And of course, Jan is with us here as always. All right. You know, one of my suggestions to you Go with what works. And if you're always using the same techniques and you're not getting much, what that tells me is change your technique. That doesn't mean, I've got the end all beat all technique. But I will say one thing that I have noticed, and this is just personal observation: developing your spiritual connection seems to be a very helpful piece of conduit in spirit communication. I mean, that's why we do it. You know, I'm too old to be a thrill seeker. Do we have fun? Yeah, a lot of times we do. But keep in mind, it's a lot of work. You're in environments breathing in God knows what sometimes. If you're a person like myself, somebody with a lot of allergies, they definitely can affect you health wise. But let's keep going here. Okay, so as we go through locations, you've heard me talk about our body cams many times. Those body cams have been a gold mine. But, I've also had some really good captures on the full spectrum camera, not only audio, but video too. I've had things come up on the full spectrum that I was hand holding that were not picked up on my body cam, which was magnetized to my shirt. So you have two cameras within inches of each other. One's picking up something, the other one is not. Develop your connection. That's going to help you a lot. Find what works for you. I don't expect everybody's style to be the same, but I will say, sitting in the dark for hours on end, that just has not been very productive to us. That's not our style of doing things. And, the proof is in the pudding. Show me what you got, and show me what you got on a consistent level. And this branches off into review. And Dennis and I have had some conversations on this, recently. And brother, I'm going to use you as an example. When we did there was a haunted church that we did in Menominee Falls not that long ago. Dennis caught an orb coming right through a door. Right through. Totally elapsed time on that orb coming through the door. A second or two. What is the length of your average EVP? Can you answer that question? I can. Your average EVP is less than half a second. Where am I going with this? Well, I'm going to tell you. This is where review becomes so critical. Now, I'm not going to bring up any names, but I know of an individual who would put in earbuds, stick his H1 in his pocket, and be reviewing evidence while at work. How the hell does that work? Of course, I didn't hear anything, and you're not going to. If your average EVP is less than half a second. Your attention span is not that good. It's just not. And the same thing goes, audio and video. This stuff happens quick. You know, I suggest short clips. Currently, I have my body cam set up. I have three of them set up in a 10-minute loop, one set up in a 15-minute loop. I can bring them down as low as, like, I think 2 minutes, 3 minutes, something like that. That's a little too quick. But what's nice about it is, you can concentrate on something for 10, 15 minutes, generally pretty easily. Um, put your headphones on and be very aware of the sounds you're listening to. Don't be afraid to separate your clips. Now, when I say separate, what do I mean by that? You have your video portion, you have your audio portion, and I'm talking camera clips here, of course. If you think you hear just some strange little noise or something, make note of the clip, 3 minutes and 38 seconds, let's say. Put that in your sound program and go to that spot in your sound program. Turn it up if you have to. Filter it if you have to. If you're listening to your favorite radio station, and I'm just gonna use this as an example because I know the call sign and I know the frequency. WHAD 90.7, Wisconsin Public Radio. What's my point? You can hear that station if you're on 90.5, 90.6. You're not going to hear it well, but you will hear it. What do? You turn that frequency in for optimum capture. Also, EVPs are usually not always, but usually very low in the mid-range frequency range. And you'd be surprised sometimes on how much just a little frequency boost in that mid-range will just make things so much easier to hear. Another thing, don't be afraid to slow down or speed up a clip. You're playing that clip in real time. Maybe, I just can't quite make it out. Generally, what I'll do is I'll knock it down 3%, play it, knock it down another 3%, play it, until I can find that sweet spot. Sometimes it's just the opposite. Sometimes you have to speed it up a little bit. But it'll really help you out on what's being said. That's what we got for today. I think we'll take a little deeper dive into this as we go and get into some more specifics. But if you're a team, especially if you're a younger team without a lot of experience in this kind of stuff, don't be afraid to DM us. We'll give you suggestions. We'll help you out whatever way we can. Same thing goes for video. The sheet anomaly is a good example. Just looked like a quick flash on the screen until I slowed it down. All kind of ways to do it. A lot of these programs are free for your use. Not all of them, but a lot of them are. It's not just learning your equipment, it's learning your programming on your review. We're going to make that today's Monday Minute. Please be good to each other. We're all we got, so be good to each other. That being said, peace out.